Hi everyone and welcome to Fridays with Fenning. Well, it's wedding fever in our house this weekend. Our youngest daughter Rachel is marrying Theo. And what a palaver it's been. I tell you, they chose this date before COVID hit as they wanted to wait until Theo had graduated as a doctor and before he started his F1 and F2 final training. There was this 3-week gap. But even during COVID, they were confident that the restrictions would be lifted. And actually, Boris's roadmap back in March confirmed that. They did wisely book a registry office date just in case that things went wrong. And then, of course, the restrictions weren't lifted and only 70 in the church were allowed to walk down the aisle in masks, no space for evening guests. And suddenly, all their plans, like so many other couples, were changed last minute. And because of doing the legal bit of their marriage just a couple of weeks ago, they decided to cancel the beautiful church and get married outside in a field at the reception farm. And the 2-week forecast at that point said sunshine all day and 24 degrees. And as this week has progressed, it's turned towards rain and thunder all day. And then, to cap it all, last Saturday, Rachel got a message on her NHS app to say that she had to self-isolate for 7 days due to someone being diagnosed with COVID who had sat in the same restaurant as her last week. So, panic. Initially, the wedding was going to have to be postponed, but her isolation finishes at 11:59 this evening. So the wedding is going ahead, outside in the rain, with reduced numbers of guests, and it's going to be a brilliant day, and I can't wait. But why go through all of this? Why do they persist with a wedding despite all of these obstacles? Well, it's because they love each other and they want to make commitments before God and family and friends, and because they still believe that love can last a lifetime. There's a quote from a film that I often use at weddings when I'm asked to speak on a couple's big day. It's from a quirky but great little film that I remember watching for the first time on a plane as I was heading to the States a number of years ago. The film was called Juno. And it's this story of a teenage girl who gets pregnant and she lives with her father and her stepmother in a very middle-class neighbourhood. And she decides to keep the baby but to give it up for adoption. And she meets this couple who desperately want the baby, but she finds out that they're having trouble in their marriage, in their relationship. And as she looks around her, she sees lots of relationships breaking down. Her parents are divorced, the adoption couple are struggling, and even her own relationship with her boyfriend is just a bit strange. And then in this really tender conversation with her dad, where she tells him that she's pregnant, she asks the question that I think everyone wants to know the answer to. And it's a great question in her context, but it's also a great and profound question that I think everyone asks at some point in life. And here's the question. She says this: Dad, I just need to know that it's possible for two people to stay happy together forever. Now, despite what she sees around her and her experience, there's still a hope that it might just be possible. And in a world where divorce is prevalent, where relationships have been under immense pressure during this pandemic, Rachel and Theo still believe that it's possible too. Rach has the example of my mum and dad, 61 years married. In fact, my mum WhatsApped me back on the 3rd of March saying this: "Something Dad wanted to tell you. It's 65 years ago today we had our first date." I mean, how lovely is that? But how is it possible to love the same person with all their quirks and annoyances for 65 years or more, and for that love to remain strong? Well, it comes down to our understanding of that word love. We speak about falling in love in those early stages. I believe Rachel told Theo that she loved him well before he said it to her. But falling in love is full of emotion. It's that strong feeling. It's almost out of control. And people falling in love just want to spend time together. They look over each other's faults. They do whatever the other person wants to do. It is so exciting. But love can't remain just as a feeling. That's a house of cards that can just fall at any time. Love has to mature, it has to prove itself. Its power comes through making loving choices, and they're choices that lead to loving actions. It's interesting that whenever Jesus or the New Testament writers speak about love, it's always in the context of an action. That love is patient, love is kind, love holds no records of wrong, love perseveres. Do you see? Love is expressed in practical ways. And Jesus speaks of love as a choice and an action. It's something we do, not just something we feel. So he said this, he said, "And now I give you a new commandment. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another." Now, just think about it. How can you command someone to love if love is a feeling? Love is so much more than a feeling. It's something we do. It's a choice that we make on a daily basis. Now, this is liberating because it gives us the power or control to build a lifelong relationship, to turn a struggling marriage around. Otherwise, if love was just a feeling, we're just hostage to our emotions. And Jesus gives us an example. It's an even better example than my mum and dad. Because Jesus chose to love. He loved the marginalised, the lonely, the poor. He loved the migrant, the widow. You know, it wasn't a sentimental love. It was a sacrificial, practical, unending, constant love. And it's a love that made a difference and gave value and comfort and life. And ultimately, it was a sacrificial love that meant that he gave his life for others, including you and me. So as Rachel and Theo head into married life together, being in love will be wonderful, but they'll need to continue to learn what love really is. It's a choice and a commitment, and ultimately an action that puts the other first, and a love that follows the example of the love of Jesus. And do you know what? I am confident that they will make it. Hey, you have a great weekend. Thanks so much for watching. I'm off to go and put some more marquees up, so you take care. Thanks.